Okay, hello everyone, and thank you so much for coming to our course today. Today we're going to look into personality dynamics in the workplace. Why we are here today? That's because we need to read in people. We need to talk and understand people. We need to interact with people. And then we will need to work with people. And don't forget, you also live with people. Okay, so in all of these different states that I just told you, very simple ones, we are talking about people. And when we talk about people, we are talking about values, about beliefs, about personalities, about how people they behave in their lives, in the city, in the bus, in the subway, in the workplace. And then you understand why we need to understand our own personality, but also to be able to read in people to some extent, because we cannot really read in people, but we can always guess and we can always look into other people's personalities. Why? That's because we are living with them, we are working with them, and we need to interact with them. Now, when you are in your life, of course, you are going to deal with your partners, your parents, your guardians, your siblings. When you're going to work in a workplace, you're going to deal with people, interact with people who are different from you. They come from different countries, they have different values, different beliefs, different personalities. But at the end of the day, we are going to work somewhere as well. So we need to be able to read in people and then to interact well with them. And guess what? When you're also going to have an interview, that's how we are going to notice your personality. Of course, you must have some other employability skills, of course, but you also need to have the personality that will be compatible with others. And you know what? I'm sure that you already had this I would say this type of thinking that, okay, I like this person. Why? Or sometimes you're talking with someone and you saw that, oh, no, I don't really like that person. I don't think we're not going to be good friends. Why? That's because of the personality as well. You felt something. You saw something. You saw the body language. You also saw how the person was talking, how the person was, again, dealing with, I would say, with different situations. But you couldn't really understand why. And the why here is very important and very interesting. That's because the why is a question that has always been there. We have been having for so many years, so many scientists who started to look into, okay, why when I am dealing with someone, I feel good? Why when I'm talking with someone else, I feel less good? Why I can work well with some people? Why I can work well in a team? And then we started to see many types of theories on personalities. So today we are going to look into the theories of personality, how we are going to use those with ourselves, how we are going to use those when we are living with some people, okay? How we are going to use those theories in order to work well in a workplace and, of course, in the society. So this is, in a nutshell, what we are going to see today. Okay, so now let's go over the first slides. I'm just going to go over them briefly, of course. So what are the universal employability skills that we need when we are going to work with someone, when we are going to hire someone, when someone is going to hire you? Those are very, very important skills that we need, but we cannot expect you to have all of those. We are going to talk with you in an interview. We are going to look into your body language, asking you questions about your leadership, about your communications. And then we are going to ask you an open-ended question, and you will have to respond in an open-ended way. So we are going to see how you communicate. Then we are going to ask you some questions about the teamworks. Tell me about a time when you have been working in a team what was the case, what you have done, and what was the result. So here you talk about how you dealt with your team members, and of course the project and the timelines and the budget. But also we are expecting you to talk about how your personality helped you to keep your team cohesive. Then we do have some other skills like self-motivation. This is where you need to know your own personality, your strengths and your weaknesses. Okay, opportunities to grow, some threats that you may encounter if you're working somewhere. So these are all self-motivations. We can also talk about dedication to work, hardworking, and of course being ethical. Why? That's because we do have people who will behave a different way when they are exposed to some negative situations. Some they lose their temper. Some of them, they lose maybe patience. Some of them know they are going to stay. They communicate even better. Some people, they're going to become aggressive. Okay. So these are different ways that people, they will react to different negative situations. So here we may ask you a question like, okay, tell me about a time when you had a conflict or when you were not in agreement with your manager. So what was the case, what you have done, and what was the result? Again, it will depend on your personality, and that's what we are going to cover in the next slides. Then talking about the planning, so how to deal with your colleagues, how to deal with your students, with your professors, with in the research team, in your family, if you are having, for example, a vacation plan. And again, how we are going to deal with our personalities that will, I would say, allow us to control our behavior. Because as you know, our behavior is also part of our personality. Then talking about dependability, about adaptability, about the flexibility, honesty, these are all skills that are also related to your personality, my friends. Not just you again. When I'm talking about personality, it applies to you, it applies to your colleagues, to those who are around you, to your team members, and it applies to those who are working with you, because the same way that you are looking into their personality to be able to adapt your behavior and then to work well with them, the same way your manager is going to deal with you and your personality. Your co-workers are going to deal with you. Your human resources representative, for example, with your director or manager, are interviewing you in order to see, okay, do you have a compatible personality? This is why it's important to be able to read in people. And this is what we are going to look at. Now, some other employability skills are self-presentation. Depending on your personality, I'm sure that you heard about some people who are extroverted or introverted. Very interesting. Okay, those who are introverted, they don't talk too much. They spend more time to decide. They spend more time to become familiarized with you. But those who are extroverted, no, they are charismatic. They talk more. They, like me, they use their hands, their body language as well. And this is how they present. Now, when we are in a company that is just selling, or in a marketing, for example, company, obviously we prefer to have salespeople who are, again, extroverted. But when we are dealing with computer science, with those who are working with logics, with flowcharts, with diagrams, with algorithms, we need to have more people who are introverted, because of the fact that their personality is also dictating in some ways the way that they work. In Japan, for example, we use personality testing in kids, and we use the results of the personality testing of kids in order to propose them, or telling them that if they do some type of scientific field, or I don't know, maybe taking some soft skills or hard skills, they are going to be much more able to reach their goals. So personality in some countries may even decide on what type of field of specialty a person is going to be trained. Very interesting. Okay, so personality is really not just a theory, even if it's not very easy to explain. But I'm going to, of course, talk about the theories. But this is a very important thing. And you know what? Next time when you're going to talk with someone, just Pay attention to the person. Try to guess his or her personality. And then you will see that if there is any compatibility between yours and his or her personality, you are going to find many common topics and you're going to enjoy talking together, even working together. However, we also have the challenge of those who don't have compatible personalities, because in a workplace, we are not just looking into personalities, we're looking into the work as well. So we need to make compromises and we need to, again, deal with those people as well. So you see, in any case, it's useful to know about the personalities. Okay. Now, of course, we can talk about positive attitude, self-confidence, leadership. Of course, this is where you show the way. You are going to need to look into people, into their emotional intelligence, into their intellectual intelligence, and then to be able to form teams, to show the way to people to succeed. And this is also using the personality theories. Also, when we are leaders, we would like to praise someone, an employee. Did you know that for people who are analytical, it's more important to give them a raise with a number, because they are analytical people. They prefer to have a number. But if we are dealing with someone who is amiable, talking about the personality, they don't need necessarily to have more money. They don't need numbers. They need that you just recognize them in an event, okay? Just to applause for the person, and then to recognize what he or she has done. So you see, even with the personality, we can also guess, as a manager, as a leader, we can guess how we are going to make someone happy. And this is where we talk about employee retention. And personality is one of the key components for employee retention, because it allows us to deal with different personalities. When we are discussing, for example, someone who is expressive, they need to talk, and usually talking, it may take some time, and then it's not very easy to reach a goal. It takes time. But when you are talking with a director, of course, they talk much less, they decide faster. However, sometimes decisions that you're making are not necessarily the best one. So these are different types of, I would say, challenges that we have. And we use personality in order to understand those challenges. And this is one of the pillars for the way that we can make decision making. Then we can talk about, of course, other skills like multicultural sensitivity, loyalty, professionalism, willingness to learn, customer service, and common sense. You see, they're all personalities that are involved. Okay, so now let's talk about the employability characteristics. When you hire someone, or when we are hiring you, we need to see that you have a positive attitude. You may say, okay, how I can have a positive attitude? This is your body language. This is the way that you talk. This is the way that you're dressed. This is also through the examples of I would say, situations where we will learn more about you. So, for example, you may say that, yes, I was having a challenge in my life or in my work, and then I had to do my best, but I stayed very positive. Oh, you said positive. This is positive. And then we are going to see what you have done that was positive. Then we need you to be cooperative. So again, here, asking you questions about giving us an example of when you had a project and how it did work. We're expecting you to talk about cooperation. But again, you're dealing with people here. You are working with people. So again, here, we need to explain an interview, of course, that, again, yes, based on our personality, we were compatible. For those who were not compatible, for example, we tried to, again, work with them. We all made some common goals, and then we did very well the project. So this is how you are going to use, again, your skills, and you're going to explain, of course, how you can use your skills using personality theories. Another employability characteristic is accepting and using feedbacks. Again, here, I told you for the analyticals, those who are analytical, they do not like necessarily to receive a feedback in front of people. We know that, and of course, we are going to go over this again in a few slides. So in this case, when we know that someone is analytical, we are going to, again, wait to the end of the meeting, and then we are going to talk with the person. But if someone is amiable or expressive, it's much easier, of course, to give them feedbacks, even in front of people. So you see, again, we need to have a cohesive team. We need to work as a team. Even in your life, the same thing applies. So we will need to know about each other's personality, use it in order to, make everyone more engaged in life and, of course, in the work, and, of course, having cohesive teams. Now, some other characteristics for the employability. We can talk about now about the flexibility, so accepting change and adapt to new situations. We can also talk about lifelong learning. Again, here, this is also your personality. Some people, they are very eager to learn new things, new skills. Some others, no, they think that what they got is normal, or they are going to have some other feelings that may develop not because of their personality, but maybe because of I would say, the workplace environment, the management style as well. We don't know, but all we know is that having a personality that is going to be compatible with the working environment, with the manager, with the team, having people who also, based on the level of maturity, again, they are really dealing well with new changes and new challenges. This is what we want in a workplace. And of course, leadership, I already talked about leadership as well. So we need to make decisions and solve problems. We have to show to others respect. And this is how people would like to work with you. But for showing respect, and of course, for again, knowing, of course, how we are going to show them respect or recognize their efforts, this will also depend on how you can read in people. Now, how to build employability skills? We need to have some type of experience on conflict resolution. So look for ways to reduce conflict with peers and communicate more effectively with them. Again, here, if, for example, we ask you a question about how you can resolve conflicts, you can always look into your past and look into, okay, what was the case? I'm sure that we all had some, I would say, issues that we had, or some conflicts where we needed to resolve it. And we resolved that based on our own beliefs and values and behavior, as well as our peers' beliefs, values, and behavior. So again, here we talk about personality. So if you were able to resolve that conflict, that because you were also able to read in people, to see, okay, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, understand about the situation, and then to adapt at that moment the optimal way to, I would say, optimal way or strategy to resolve that conflict. The other employability skill is to set educational goals. That's because when we hire you, you do have always a minimum requirements. However, you have not been fully trained on all of the activities of the company. This is why we always, again, accept candidates, and we hire people, companies that hire people based on their abilities, based on their personality. But of course, they know that they are always asking for a minimum requirement, since employees are going to learn on the job. So we may always expect having some type of educational related questions in an interview, in a conversation, in a discussion, where we will see, or people will notice, that you're open to learning. Learning, not, again, having a new PhD, of course, but I'm talking about skills, soft skills, hard skills. These are different skills that, again, may be needed later. We never know, maybe now, what skills we need in the next 4 years, for example. But this is what we want. We want people who are open to learning. Then you have to be active in networking. attending events, fairs, team sports, and more. So here, it's not just what to say in an interview, but overall, we need to get out. Even if we are introverted people, they still have good friends. They may not have 200 friends. Okay, again, if you have too many, you may not all be your friends neither. But what I'm saying is that the quality is there anyways of friendship. And what we want is, I mean, in a company, in a working environment, we want people who are, getting out. They're outgoing. They go to events. They do network. Okay, they are open. They are open to communications. You cannot work somewhere without, again, interacting with people around you. And this is what employers they want as well. And it's not just employers. Look at your family as well. Look at your partner. Look at your parents, guardians, whoever around you. They're all having some type of networking. Humans, they are social, I would say, beings, so we need to network. And of course, the last point is to participate in some form of community services in order to give some of your time. We have clubs in universities, we have different associations in colleges, universities, or when you're out. We do have several charity companies or hospitals as well, colleges, universities where people they work for. I would say they volunteer, but they volunteer because they are giving away some of their time, but they're getting much more from that time. They develop their networking. They also develop their interpersonal skills. They are again building on improving the way that they use their personality, because their personality doesn't change over time. It may, but over a long period of time. And this is how the best way, of course, to look into, I would say, um, again, becoming more mature, I would say, for the working environment. Okay. So what is personality? Here, when we talk about personality, we may look into character, psychology, identity, emotional disorders, schizophrenia, psychology again, multiple minds, singularity, expression, selfhood, person, human, etc., etc. But the definition of personality is a collection of emotional, thought, and behavioral patterns unique to a person that is consistent over time. This is also like, I would say, behavior as well, but personality is a broader term than behavior. Weinberg and Gould, they also define personality as the characteristics or blend of characteristics that make a person unique. Unique, it means that we have unique personalities. So you may say it's good to have, again, unique personalities, but now how we can have theories of personalities. You are right. When we are going to talk in the next slides about the theories of personalities, you will see that we are talking about usually many people, I would say the majority, and I have a table for that, of the scientists and observers, they talk about four different pillars that will make a personality. But the extent of importance of each of those pillars that will, again, play a role in your overall personality is different. For example, we may have someone who is at 30% analytical, but at 20% director, but they are at 40% amiable and 10% expressive. For example, okay, we cannot really give percentages because this is a qualitative data. It's not very easy. It's not like quantitative data. But what I'm saying here is that this is a way to, I would say, talk about four types of pillars for the personality, and then each person having a unique personality is going to have, to some extent, I would say to some percentage, to some extent, something from one of these four pillars. We're going to go into this in detail in the next slides. So here we can talk about the, I would say, people who are melancholic, phlegmatic, choleric, and sanguine. This is one way. We have been having observers and scientists like Carl Jung. They were talking about thinkers, feelers, directors, and intuitors. Merrill and Reed, that's the one that I'm going to use, of course, for our course today. They are talking about analytical, amiable, drivers, and expressive people. You may now say, oh my God, they are always for. And what is interesting is that, yes, so we may say that thinkers are like analyticals, feelers are like amiables, drivers are like directors, and intuitors are like expressive. So they are very, very similar. So the way that those people at different time, they have been looking into people was very coherent. I mean, there is a logic about that. For example, we have melancholic, phlegmatic, choleric, and sanguine people. Okay, there's again some homology between these terms and the terms that Carl Jung or Merrill and Reed used. Now, some psychologists use a 20 or 30-page questionnaire to identify your individual personality traits. Personally, I think that they are very useful, but they are useful as long as you, as a person, you are going to validate the result. It means that you can always pass a personality test, but you will need also to think about, yes, is it me? Was it really correct? Did you understand well each question? Because it's also another issue that we have when we are having, for example, IQ tests. IQ tests must be translated in different languages. And the way that we talk in different languages, it is different. You know, in some languages, you put the verb first and the noun, then you put a name. Or in some other languages, you start with the name, then you continue with the nouns, and then with the pronouns, and then with a verb. So you see the way that you're making your sentences and the way that you're expressing yourself, the way that it is your thoughts are coded and decoded are different. So it's normal that when you're also doing the translations, and of course, here, talking about personality testing, when we are talking about creating questions that will allow us to give you a score, and based on the score, giving you the approximation about, you know, different traits of characters or personality that you have, we need to really be very, I would say, very precise. It's not as easy as it may seem. So just passing the tests or questionnaires may not necessarily show you your personality. It must be validated, and of course it must be the questions must be make sense, of course, for you in the way that you can understand. For example, in India, we had um, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. These are different personalities. So you see that even in other countries, other cultures, we have been also looking into finding a way for people to understand each other, to read in each other. Why? To be able to work well together, to live well together. So here we are having, again, three personalities. And again, when you go back to personalities, you will see that people could be Vata, a little bit of Pitta as well, for example. They could be Kapha, a little bit of Vata as well. So this is how we were trying to explain some personalities. And this is a way that the origins in India, of course, they started tens of thousands of years ago, to look into, okay, how they will be able to read in people in order to find a way to, you know, have cohesive teams, cohesive nations as well. Then I'm sure that you also heard about personality A and B types. For personality A and B, there have been some, I would say, even now we are talking about that. We may say this person is more personality type B than A. Usually for type A, those persons are competitive, time urgent, hostile, and aggressive, not in a way that you may say that they are going to attack anyone, but they are drivers. And for the type B personalities, these are people who have tendency to be relaxed. They do jobs one thing at a time, and they express their feelings. Type A personality may be more competitive overall. The type B personality may be more relaxed overall. Now, does it really apply to you? Yes. To some extent, you may say, yes, I am type A or I am type B. But does this theory explains everything about you? Not necessarily. Does this theory explains anything about people around you? Do you think that, yes, you may, again, use this theory when you are going to work in a working environment? Yes. You're going to see people who are relaxed, and you have people who are running. But it doesn't mean that that those who are relaxed are less or working less, or those who are again more aggressive in working. They are having, I would say, they are going to give you a quality work. So as you see, type A or B, it allows us, of course, to look into compatibility in between characters to some extent. However, for the quality of the job that we are offering or offered by any of these two types of personality, there may not be that much differences. So when we are going to an interview, they are not looking into finding someone who is at 100% extroverted or introverted, or type A and type B. Again, depending on the type of the job. But this is not, again, one of the, I would say, one of the necessities that we are going to have definitely type A people. Because again, over years, over decades, we understood that we can use the theories of personality, but we cannot rely on it at 100% because of the unique personalities of people and the unique requirements of if each situation and each job. Now, let's go over some other examples. An example of personality types is talking about people who are dominant, influential, um, steady, and compliant. This is another way that, again, another team of scientists, they came up with this type of theory, and they said that we have overall people who are dominant, they are direct, decisive, they are the doers, they are domineering, and they are demanding. We also have people who are influential and inspirational, interactive, and interesting. We have people who are steady, so they are stable, supportive, and sincere. And we have people who are compliant, cautious, careful, consciousness. Now, why we talk about this? That's because this is a way to look into how we can communicate with people. People who are dominant, they don't communicate for hours. They think fast, they decide fast, and they are brave, and they are confident. So when we talk about those who are decisive, yes, they are deciding fast, but when you are doing things fast, you may not be able to look into each and every detail. And this is normal because it goes with the definition of being a director. A director or a driver is always looking into what has to be done, not how. Okay. Now we also have people who are influential. These are those who inspire others. They are those who talk with others. These are impulsive and they are interesting, sometimes irritating. These are expressive people. They can influence. Now, are these doers? To some extent, yes, but not at 100% necessarily. We also have people who are steady. These are those who are, again, like analytical people. They are always stable, supportive, sincere. They are maybe slow, they are maybe sensitive, like analytical people, but this is the way that they, again, they behave. And this is how they are. And when you see two steady people or two analytical people getting together, since their personalities are compatible to each other, they are going to feel good. It's very interesting. Okay, very. And of course, same thing for compliance. We have people who are compliant. So these are, again, those who are cautious, careful, and they are calculating and they are condescending. Perfect. This is just one way that, again, we were talking about personality types. You can also look into the history, of course, and you can now find some other types of personality proposed by some other groups. Here we can talk about cool blues, earth green, fiery red, sunshine yellow. Same again, it goes to the same, I would say, way of thinking and way of analyzing people, where we always talk about being precise, deliberate, questioning, or formal for cool blue people. For fire red, these are competitive, demanding, determined, strong-willed, purposeful. These are the drivers that we talked, or domineerings, okay? We have sociable, dynamic, demonstrative, enthusiastic people. These are sunshine yellow. These are expressive people, okay? And then we have caring, encouraging, sharing, patient, and relaxed people. These are amiable people. And this is what I'm going to, of course, explain in a few slides. So these are other ways of talking about the personality of people. You can also have, again, by other groups, other teams, we also had another way of talking about personalities, where we have blue, gold, orange, and green personalities. Blue, they are emotionally driven, they seek harmony, they are enthusiastic, they are sympathetic. So these are those that we call amiables with other groups. Gold, loyalty driven, respect rules, or organized, appreciative. These are analytical people. You also have orange, short term driven, welcome changes, competitive, and impulsive. And you have green people, logically driven, focused, efficient, and analytical. Oh, these are analytical people. And orange, of course, these are those who are drivers. So it's very interesting to know that for many years, for decades, we have been having many attempts in order to explain the personality, to find out, okay, how we can explain the personality of people, a personality that is unique to people, okay? But we understood that we can give four pillars or four domains of personality. However, I may be at 10% gold, 20% blue, 30% orange, and the remaining green. So we are all having different personalities as well. I mean, they're all together and they make our personality. But the percentages are different. And you may say, okay, but do these percentages they change under stress, or if we are, for example, in a difficult situation? Yes, this will change, and we'll go over that as well. But for now, we're just talking about personalities in a normal, I would say, way of living with no stress, with normal conditions. Another personality types that have been used for years by HR is the DISC. So for the personality types DISC, as I mentioned, this has been used for several decades by the human researchers as well. Here we talk about dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness. This means that it's very similar to the very first personality type that I showed you. What it shows that for decades, again, we have been having many groups of scientists and psychologists who started to look into different, I would say, personality types. They tried to explain what they understood, what they observed, and then to come up with a type of model. Nowadays, you may see models of personality when we talk about 16 different personalities. At the end of the day, we just want to have a model that works. We know that these models, they are very similar, but not identical, but they're all telling us that uh, if you look into the root of our personality, we are all having a little bit of dominance, influence, again, conscious and steadiness. However, the extent or the importance of that character, the one that is dominant in us, is different. And this is the dominant character or type that is going to, I would say, decide on our personality. So now this is a table for the recapitulation of all of the theories of personality. So on the left, you do have several psychiatrists, psychologists, different scientists, and they were all talking about different domains of personality. So we have analytical, amiable, driver, and expressive. This is Merritt and Reed. This is the one that I'm going to, again, cover in the next slides. You can also talk about melancholic, phlegmatic, choleric, and sanguine. And you can now look into all of those different categories, and you see that they are all four here, and they are all similar, if not identical. Now, let's go over, okay, how we are going to use that, because it's good to know about the theories of personality, but okay, how we use it. How I can guess about your personality. We need to guess, because we cannot read in you, but we can guess. And then we are going to be able to make our opinion about your personality. Now, the same thing applies to when you go to an interview, where we are going to talk with you, asking you some questions, and then gradually we are going to drill down about the question, your experience, and then we will see if you are a good match for the team. This is why we have an interview. That's why being introverted or extroverted, as long as you have the qualifications for a job, like for life, you are living, but you're having different personalities. In a working environment, the same thing applies. You do have the skills necessary for doing a job, but now some people are introverted, some extroverted, okay? But they are going to learn to work together, and they have also to get into the company culture, accept it, and then based on the company culture is asking everyone to look into the same direction, having the same mission, vision, and values to work well together. And of course, in the middle of everything, we may look into, okay, logical emotion. Okay, yes, our emotion is also, affecting the way that we understand or the way that we react. And this is the way that we behave as well. So emotion is also very important. We will talk about that as well. Okay, so now looking into the personal values and personality at work, we now look into what are the factors that will make your personality. Okay, those factors are here, okay? One of them is openness, being open to new situations, new people, new projects. And this is how we are going to talk with you in an interview. And we are going to ask you to give us some examples of time when you were exposed to something new, a new project, what was the case, what you have done, and what was the result. We can also talk about conscientiousness, where we would like to know to what extent you are really understanding and your brain is accepting and you understand, you have the right feeling toward a project and a team and working in the environment. Again, here we ask you questions relevant to this topic. Also, extraversion. We're going also to ask you questions about to what extent you're outgoing, you are networking, and don't forget that even if you are introverted, don't forget that you are not at 100% introverted or at 100% extroverted. We are all having a little bit of each. So we are just going to see to what extent you are naturally extroverted, and then through the questions, we're going to see to what extent you're able to change or to reach your limits, because you need to work with the teams anyway. So you need to be able to, again, adapt with new personalities as well. Then agreeableness and neuroticism. Neuroticism is I would say, your disposition to build negative thinking in negative situations. We have people who are always happy. They are always, not that because they don't understand, they understand well, they are strong, they are brave, and they are charismatic, and they are happy because they say if there is any challenge that comes, I'm going to make my team, we are all going to work together, and we are going to resolve that issue. But we have also people who, on the other side, extreme side, where they are negative, or we always talk about this in a jargon, we say these are those who are sending negative vibes. Okay, so these are those neuroticisms, these are those who are having negative vibes, I would say. So they act or they behave in a negative way from the very beginning for no reason. And the reason may be the roots, so the causes in their past. The causes, or even maybe their actual situation as well, may also make people negative or push them to think negatively. So these are the personal values and personalities that we need to see in an interview, because you're going to work with this again in the working environment. So my friends, if you're okay, I think this is now 1:31. I'm going to stop this now. We are going to continue with the next slide again in the next week or two, depending on what Ali would like to. If you're okay, I'm just going to again stop this, and I'm going to answer to her questions.